Okay, a very good morning to all of you, our dear listeners and viewers that have tuned in again. Welcome to ACFIM Talks, where we usually have candid discussions concerning democracy in general, but electoral democracy to be specific. Today, with me, I have two hosts. One is a lady and another is a gentleman. I'll be introducing them in a short while, but your moderator is once again Felix Kafuma. And happy last hard ACFIM Talks. We had a break, but we are glad to be back at such a time when we are 6 days away from election, from the D-Day. And once again, I must remind you, all our viewers, that please, COVID is real. I took it upon myself to emphasize that message. Observe all the SOPs as advised by the Ministry of Health. But at this point in juncture, allow us and allow me to get it straight on. I'll start with the feminist social worker and activist, equally an election observer, um, who has joined us. Yes, you're most welcome, Brenda. Did I get your names right?
Thank you so much, Felix and viewers. As Felix said, my name is Brenda Aromorach. I work with Forum for Women in Democracy in Gulu district. So I want to thank ACFIM for this opportunity to allow us discuss the civic space for the civil society organizations in Uganda. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome, and once again, it's good to have you and happy New Year. Then also on the stage, I have somebody who is not new in the civil society arena. He's been around for a long time, and he has made a mark in the governance arena. Is Benson Ekwee. He's a firebrand civil society democratic governance activist. He has had a hand in a number of leading CSOs to date in terms of formation, nurturing, and growing them. So you can see that his shoes are too big to fill. He has had a hand into formation of ACU and also served on ACU board as one of the pioneers. ACU is Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda. He has had a hand in Teso Anti-Corruption Coalition, that outfit that is operating in the Teso region. He has also had a hand in the formation and the nurturing of Mid-Renzori Anti-Corruption Coalition, including Macho, which is Mayank, the one that operates in the districts of West Nile. He's also had a significant contribution. Is the founding ED and currently serving at Public Affairs Center, one of the leading CSOs based in Soroti. He's passionate about issues of governance. He's also an associate trainer with MS-TCDC in Arusha, Tanzania, and he has been a very active member of New You until it was disbanded. So it's good to have you, Benson, on the set, and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm glad to be part of this panel.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's get it started straight away. For those of you who are just joining us, one, I must point out very interesting statistics here. I can say that we are 5 days strictly away from the election day, and that's about 120 hours the election day. And as the statistics tell us, it means that we are in the final lap, and so much has been happening. But significant to our discussion has been the civic space, especially for election observers, that seems to be unkind to civil society actors who have been tracking this process, who have been influencing this process, who are known to contribute positively to this process. We know for a fact that the Electoral Commission is beyond accrediting, is also giving out tags, observation tags, to civil society actors, but also to domestic election observers who have interest in observing the elections. As that process is taking place at Serena Katonga Hall, there are a few observations that have to be pointed out. As we speak, none of those civil society organizations or actors that are known in the Electoral Democracy Act, none of them has been accredited. Sorry, none of them has been given the card, the election observation tag and card, which gives you access to the polling station to observe. Among those, there are also organizations that were accredited but have not yet been given the cards. But we've seen, for example, some organizations, about 9 of them, that their names are new to many of us, but have been able to receive those cards. Notable and a common denominator is that those that have not yet received the cards, but are been actively engaging in this process under the National NGO Forum and also under the New U, which was disbanded. Suspiciously, until now, Electoral Commission is yet to issue or give them the observation cards. That raises a lot of questions that set the tone for the discussions that we are going to have in the next 55 minutes. We know that IGAD has been, the observers from IGAD have already received their tags. We also know that there is an organization, I'm trying to understand its name, it's Alliance for African Democracy. It has also been given the observation cards. But the notable ones that we know have not yet received accreditation cards. So, Brenda, what do you make of this? The behavior of Electoral Commission, but also the notable candidates missing until now, not receiving the cards, observation cards. What do you make of this? What's your take? What does this spell?
Thank you so much, Felix. I must say this, that in Uganda, there has been shrinking space for civil society organizations after minutes, because you see, a lot has been coming up. Why? That is the question that comes to us as civil society actors. So the act of the Electoral Commission on all this that has been happening, for us, we feel that this is not proper and it's going to have a bending sight on the integrity of the election for the 2021, that is 6 days to go on. When we looked at things that have been happening, honestly, I want to start from what happened. You mentioned the New U. It is very clear in the Constitution of Uganda that gives the right to the citizens, political parties, and other people to come together to form a coalition where they can work together. So I want to tell the world that the formation of the National Election Watch Uganda, it was not meant to form an organization that it needed to be registered like the way it was pronounced. This was a coalition that it was intended only to bring different civil society organizations together so that we see a way of observing this 2021 election, a work that we had been doing even before in the previous election. So I see it starts from there. The disbanding of the New U that led to what we saw, where the prominent civil society organizations in Uganda that even the government recognized, and they know these are really prominent organizations in Uganda, like Uganda National NGO Forum, Uganda Women's Network. I am very sure I want to tell the world that the freezing of the account of these two prominent organizations, it arose from the work that New U wanted to push for. So this was a way of, to me, I looked at two things. It is being done as a delay tactic, whereby you're being given little time, maybe here and there, work, do this, they ask you to do A, B, C, D, so that time goes on and you really don't have time to do what? To do what is necessary. Another thing is, by freezing these organizations' accounts, it is a way of sending a message to other citizens, to other organizations, that if you want, or if you're trying harder to work so hard on governance issues, this is what we can also do to you, so that they can what? Shy down and they don't come out to make the government or the state accountable for things they're doing in line with the governance. If I go to the accreditation of the election observers, especially the domestic observers, this has been moving around. There are a lot of issues here and there, and to us, we feel that this is not proper, because at first, even the Electoral Commission at the national level gave a go-ahead for other organizations, numbers of organizations, to submit lists for their observers to be accredited. There were organizations that were accredited for what the Forum for Women in Democracy is among, and Uganda National NGO Forum was among, and a number of other organizations. These organizations were accredited in August 2020. But now, why is it that the question is coming that we are no longer doing this at the national level, check accreditation at the district level? Now, accreditation being done at the district level, it is okay, because we also believe that the centralization of other works, it is also very important, because it makes it easier for us citizens in different capacities to also get services at the district level. But now, when we see all this happening, I have experience. If you move as maybe as an organization, you go to the district, because right now accreditation is being done at the district level. Most of these returning officers are not aware, because if you go there and submit your list with all the documents needed, they will tell you, please, I don't know this. Go to the national level. This is done at the national level. I give an example of Liantonde district, where we have a field officer there, and he has been battling here and there. The returning officer there keeps pushing, go to the national level. This is done at the national level. So we feel that there are gaps. And when we look at the media, honestly, I know media are supposed to be accredited observe election. Someone who did accounting, CPA, and you have been accredited. Does it mean that you need to go an extra mile to be accredited again by any other body? Yes. So I feel that rooms are really squeezing us in the civic space, and for domestic observation of this election, it's becoming harder, tougher and tougher every minute that we try to do all these things.
Okay.
There are many observers who even apply at individual levels so that they can observe these 2021 elections. Much as others were accredited, they are not yet been given the cards. They have not yet been given the letters so that they can access the polling. It is a delay tactic. Maybe it might even reach the 14th of January, the D-Day. You'll find that it will be very difficult for these observers to access the polling station.
All right,
and for the media.
Fair enough, Brenda. Thank you for that. This is where Benson, I bring you in, because I know you have been at the heart of the processes that led to the formation of New You. And you've been following the events closely. You are also at the heart of the processes that brought New You, found New You in a place where unceremoniously it came it had to close its shop. if I'm to use that word, quote in quote. Then here we are again at a point in time when you look at the organizations who are victims of the actions of Electoral Commission as of now. Many of them belong to that outfit New You. What is your take on this? Is this targeted? Is this deliberate? And how is this going to affect domestic election observation?
I think let me begin like this, that we need to look at the thing in a holistic manner. The whole process started in 2017. In 2017, we witnessed the passing of one of the most controversial constitutional amendments in the country. It was not even one of those recommended by the Constitutional Court ruling of 2016. You remember, the court came up with about 10 recommendations on how we can make our elections more freer, more fair, and the space, actually, the operating space, the field leveled, and of those recommended, the key ones have not been touched. Instead, we saw the removal of the age limit, the last bastion that was meant to guarantee a constitutional limitation on the influence of the incumbency in any election. So, and you know, the acrimony went through. Parliament was attacked by the special forces. They were beaten, maimed. Some of them today are walking. Others have metals in their back. You know, that's also the time when civil society was badly bruised. We were on a Tojikwatako campaign, mobilizing citizens to reject, and indeed there was a report of that effect. 95% of our citizens rejected that amendment, but was pushed through. And to me, this gave me an insight of the type of elections we shall have in 2021 by then. Because the attack on parliament, unprecedented on African continent, where the military can storm parliament, beat them up, maim them up, and ensure that an amendment sails through. And you also saw the behavior of our courts. The thing was very clear. The processes were not followed. Even the speaker herself in her certificate did not bring out a number of issues, but our court went ahead. They did not have the muscle to resist. And we hear many stories which we cannot confirm, probably opinion, that the judges were extremely harassed and intimidated to come up with what we saw. So to me, that was the beginning. That was a pointer to what we're experiencing today. It also showed that the army was going to have a fundamental or extremely a big stake or a big involvement in this electoral process. By the time you see the army coming in to influence outcomes in parliament, using violence on the honorables who actually regulate its work, because our constitution and Article 208 says the army shall be regulated by parliament. And when you see the army beating, it is a regulator. Then you know that was a pointer to what we're experiencing today. So I'm not surprised. Now, when you come to the issues of New You, to me, I call this policy hypocrisy, legal hypocrisy. It's fun. I've been involved in the electoral process since 1994, during the assembling of the Constituent Assembly.
Yes.
We formed by then what we called the NOSEM, the National a consortium of NGOs at that time, monitoring on how the entire process was going on. In 1996, the same outfit work. Actually, we developed two others. We had the DEM group, we had many others, which continued up to 2001. We had no quarrel about that. No government came up to say, you know, you must do this, you should register. And then the same arrangement continued up 2006. We had another consortium. Again, there we see there was one championed by UJCC, them group. We had and supported by various development partners. There was no query about that. Very first in 2011, we now established SEDU as a loose consortium with over 600 members, both individuals and NGOs. And I was again one of the founding members of that. There was no query from our government. There was nothing. In 2016, we had Sion.
Yes.
And you know, again, our government, even officials launched it. Electoral Commission itself participated in Entebbe when we established Sion.
What has changed?
And it went on. Yeah? And then very fast to 12, even this one, when we started, there were no queries. But we suspected something was going to cook up. So you remember, we went ahead, we established, it was launched by one of our key, and we started seeing some key leaders speaking. I think what has changed, I want to assure the listeners and those who are our viewers, is that this is one of the most controversial, one of the most, in the history of our country. This politics, this election is one of the one with the highest stakes in our history. Definitely, you know, when somebody stays in power for 34 years, breaking such a system, there are two things which happen. There are two routes. If I use the Kenyan way, often you see that the people learn that unless you form the regional political blocks, such a system cannot easily be. So there are two things which are pushing us. We are seeing the citizen forming regional-based blocks and regional kingpins emerging and threatening to split the dynamics. And then on the other side, we are seeing the sitting government sustaining and using the military might to negotiate and push the transition agenda. Uganda is in the transition. People are already discussing the post-Museveni era. Where will Teso be? Where will Buganda be? Where will the Bunyoro be? Where will Western Uganda be post-Museveni era? And these were the questions asked during the Moi time. Where will Siaya be? Where will the coastal area be? And that's led to the emergence of very powerful regional blocks. That's why you see in Kenya now, no single party again can win an election. It will be a conglomeration. It will be an alliance of sorts to win. The same dynamics is in Israel. So here, that is where we are heading. And of course, those in power, the ruling elite are aware of this emerging dynamics. That's why you see the incessant attack on civil society, on the media, and the political parties themselves. So to me, this is what is changing. We are moving towards the evening of the 34-year rule. The consensitization of citizens has increased. You know what we have been doing for the last 20 years? Slowly building and conscientizing citizens. The level of interest in the dynamics of change is so high. And the stakes are great. So to me, this is what I noticed in 2017. And now we are seeing it being implemented. So to me, it is a coordinated attack to try to weaken this move towards a new political dynamo in Uganda. So when you see, look at bizarre things like accrediting the media again, sincerely. Look at the issue. Okay, which law says that whenever we form a consortium, it must be registered. If you look at the NGO Act, it is very clear. It is only
Yes, Benson, I seem to be losing you. and yet you are touching a very interesting nerve there. You are contesting the legal backing for the actions taken by government requiring you to form. And that's a very interesting angle you are taking. But I seem to have lost you there. Benson, are you there? Because I was going to come to a question that that said, of what significance is this current context you're operating in, especially when we are talking about the credibility and integrity of the elections and their outcomes, for that matter. I seem to have lost Benson, but when I have Benson back, I think I'll follow up that question. Let me quickly turn to Brenda in the next 5 minutes before we go for a break. When women, the participation of women partly also is within the civic space as domestic election observers, right? And in the current context, or in the current environment, where now it's very clear that there will not be a lot of legroom for civil society to exercise this mandate, this cardinal mandate. How is this going to impact or affect the participation of women in the electoral process? Brenda, do you hear me? Brenda, do you hear me?
Thank you. The network was not stable. I didn't hear you well. Pardon?
You didn't hear me well. But let me come. My question was. But let me come back to you on that question, because I wanted to find out in relation to the participation of women in the electoral processes, and one of women participating in these processes is participating as domestic election observers. We've seen the attack on the women fraternity through their umbrella, Wonet, whose accounts have been frozen until now. So how is this going to impact the space of women, the participation of women, especially when you look at their civic space in election observation, but also because I know that Wonet was spearheading the increase of number of women participants in electoral processes as candidates. So what is the outlook? How does this impact the space for women to participate effectively?
Thank you so much. This is going to impact a lot on women's participation in the processes of this election. Actually, it has started impacting, not only waiting for the 14th of Jan. If I can say, Forum for Women in Democracy and under Women's Network, they are under what we call a Women Democracy Network. So you see, this affects the democracy. The network so much, because it's not only Uganda Women's Network that has been affected. It is all these other organizations that form that network has also been affected. So when we looked at that, the attack on the Uganda Women's Network, this really gives a blow to other women out there who were really working so hard to ensure that fellow women who are at the grassroots level, even at the national level, they participate in observation of the 2021 election, because this is sending out fear to them. Many are going to shy down, they will not come out, meaning that observing that this election will not really be done to the level that we expected. This does not only affect even at the national level. Let's look at these women at the grassroots. Uganda Women's Network and other women's organizations were doing a lot to sensitize the community that consists of not only women, the youths are there, even the men are there. So if we looked at the freezing of the account, it happened some times ago, meaning the work and the roles that were supposed to be done or played by this organization to sensitize them, to let them know on what to do when it comes to observing election or even to participate in all this electoral process, has been cut short because the fundings were not there, meaning the organization did not do the part they were supposed to do. Then when we come to women who wanted to participate in observing this election, they're also being cut short because let me tell you that when it comes to accreditation, yes, organizations are also being accredited, but there are those who wants to come as individual people to be accredited to observe this election, but you find that they are being limited. They are asked for forms of which they are not even what? The forms are not even there. Because if you tell them that, yes, I want to apply so that I can observe, I can be allowed to enter the polling station, they will tell you, no, this is being done at the national level. Then it brings a question that what was the role, what was the reason for decentralizing this accreditation from the national to the lower level? There were many who were accredited even at the national level in August last year, but still they're being asked to come and be accredited at what? The district level. So it's really confusing people, which to me at last it's going to leave people in suspense. Many are not going to participate. Many have even started giving up because they're fearing, because they're seeing so many other people being intimidated. Because, like, let's say, let me bring an example. We have seen a prominent lawyer in Uganda, that is Counsel Nicholas Opio. He was arrested, detained somewhere. It took some hours before the public was noticed where he was being kept. So it sends out to us women and let's say the youth, because I'm also youth, it brings us that image. It is telling us a message that stay where you are. If you try to move a bit forward, this is what we can do to you. So it is sending a lot of fear to the citizens. And when we look at the voters in Uganda, women constitute the highest percentage. And the women constituting the highest percentage, the young women also constitute what? More. So since we have more voters who are women, this is going to impact a lot on the quality, not even only the quantity, even the quality of voting. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough, Brenda. Thank you. Allow me to let's first go for a break. But when we come back, I'm going to engage Benson on some two critical questions because we are here blabbering about election observation. But if I'm a viewer out there and I'm new in this area, I'll be asking myself, what's the value addition of election observers to this process? Let's come back and understand that question very well. Let's take a break for 1 minute and then resume.
COVID-19 lockdown has left us poor. Money from candidates won't make you rich. Do not be desperate. Focus on issues, not money. Often money used in campaigns is dirty money. Do you know its source? Corruption, mafia, drug trafficking, human trafficking, theft from national budget, self-seeking foreigners, selfish businessmen, selfish money lenders. Don't abandon your duty. Elect quality leadership, not big spenders.
Okay, welcome back from a short break. I think it was a technical hiccup, but for those who are just joining us, you can join us this conversation on Act of Action Talks on our YouTube channel, on our Twitter handle, in UG, and also on our Facebook page. You can also send us messages, questions, clarifications, and engage the people in the studio with us on the number of discussions in the direction of the civic space for domestic election observation? What do you see from where you are, from your canopy? What is your take? Benson, I hope Benson is there, because there's a question I want to fire to Benson. I seem to have lost him. Benson, are you there? Okay, as Benson comes on stage, there are two important discussions I want us to have, especially in the direction of domestic election observation. Because if I'm a new person in the arena, I would be asking myself, why are civil society actors making noise about election observation? So it is important for us to carry everybody on board. In this case, what is the value addition of the election observation to the electoral process, and how significant is the current context going to impact? Benson, it's good to have you back. And I was here trying to break down the question. There are two questions I want you to marry into one, kind of like give an answer. The first question is to help the person who is just new in this arena to understand the value addition of election observation to the electoral process, because we are here making noise that electoral commission is not accrediting. Is taking long to actually provide STOs observation tags, meaning they cannot observe election day activities. But why are we making noise about this? What value do they add to the process? But also in part also try to answer the question of the significance of the current context that we have just been discussing to the credibility and the integrity of the process and the outcomes per se.
I think, moderator, you have almost answered the question. But let me begin with the first one. Globally, the role of observers is definitely meant to enhance the integrity of and transparency of the electoral process. That's why observation is not about the polling day. We are supposed to monitor and observe right from the start, the nomination, the development of the legal framework. And that's why it pushed this issue to 2017. Why were we removing the age limit, for example? For what purpose? Was it to enhance development? No. It was meant to create a certain advantage, to remove a barrier to somebody who desire to continue serving. And we're all told that there is no other person we have in the country who can help us. So observation helps us to monitor, to document, and ensure that, otherwise, tell me if we're not observing and monitoring the electoral process right from the start, right from the documentation and development of the legal and policy framework. How would we be? What would we be using to measure the effectiveness of the process? So what it is meant to enhance the transparency, the integrity, and the openness of the system to ensure that it is free and fair, and the level field is good enough for everybody to participate effectively. We are like, if you looked at a football pitch, we are like commissioners. We are like the fans that go to see that the field is secure, so that when the two contesting clubs play, one loses and wins fairly. Then number two, observation instills confidence in citizens on the process. I'm just imagining in my region, if I told them I am not going to monitor elections, they know Park Uganda and me in particular have been in monitoring elections for the last 20 years. Just imagine if I told them this year I'm not going to participate. And already in the context we are in, you might witness one of the worst turn-ups in the history of this country. People will lose. And you know, in Uganda, we are shy to go to the streets, but they are very quick in picking up arms. Uganda is the only country that has had a bloody change of leadership. And that is almost becoming inevitable again. So observation gives confidence in the citizen that the process is being watched, that we, our own independent observers, are keeping an eye on it, and they believe that we shall give them a feedback on whether they had, you remember in the previous election, they had what they call controlled consent. Whether we ended up with a controlled consent or it was a genuine consent of the citizen of Uganda. The third issue is about stemming impunity. I remember one soldier, one senior officer, in Kiswahili said, sisa hauwezi fanya manyanga fazile iko watu mwenye anaangalia. That is our local Kiswahili here. Don't crucify me if I've made but it simply means that the managers and parties and controllers of the electoral process will find it easy to do anything, especially in impunity. Even now, as we speak, with the watchful eye of observers, citizens, you have seen how the military has gone overboard. In my region, we see soldiers openly campaigning. A general is recklessly moving out, and he's being checked because we are there. When we pick it up, we discuss it on radios, we raise an alarm, we say section 46, section 16 of the political parties does not allow the military to get involved. Now, when you look at our context, moderator, it's very, you know what it is. We are dealing with a government that is under immense political and financial pressure. Politically, our government is under pressure. They're coming in the picture of the young people. We are the ones who have been telling them. Museveni said, you know, this government, even when we amended remove the age limit, what did we say? We told the whole world that we want to bring the youth. Now we have witnessed the youngest presidential candidate in the world by the names of Katumba. And now we have one of the most fiercest contender. He's less than 40 years old. So they're coming in of young people in the political arena. He's actually creating one of the most immense pressures on the current regime. The other one is financial. You know very well, if you looked at the budget just this year, we are most likely to collect anything slightly not more than 18 trillion, which is about $4.7 billion. That is going to be a local revenue collected. But the debt service this year is 16 trillion, which is about $4.2 billion. That means from our domestic collection, we shall only have a balance of 2. We have a huge government. We have just created 15 cities. We have 146 districts. We have the largest parliament in Sub-Saharan Africa. And the second.
Yes, Benson, I seem to have lost you, and again you are articulating the financial implications within the context of the current elections. Benson, can you get your connection back on? Because I need you to drive that point home if I can bring in Brenda to discuss something slightly different but connected to the topic. Benson. Okay, I think I've lost Benson. I'll allow Benson to revisit that point, but let me come to Brenda now. Brenda.
Yes.
That said, because we are where we are at the moment, and it's not an overnight point of arrival. Benson has articulated that this has been happening from around 2017, but I can also tell you for sure that globally, civic space has been reducing. We are seeing more authoritarian regimes coming through and using the legal and practice to regulate space for civic organizing and civic engagement. So this is not unique to Uganda or new to Uganda. We've seen it in Tanzania, the elections in Tanzania. Civil society decried of the same conditions that they were operating in when Magufuli was being re-elected. So it's not a very new phenomenon. But I want to understand when it comes to Uganda, what is the CSO sector doing wrong or doing right to find itself behind the enemy lines of government? Because the behavior of government towards civil society, and government is supposed to guarantee the space, the civic space for engagement in all forms, including domestic election observation, and government guaranteeing the space and working within the confines of the law. But now the bigger question is, because someone may be asking, okay, wait a minute, in 2016, you observed. In 2011, you observed. In 2006, you observed. 2021, the environment changes. Why is CSO either doing wrong or doing right to find itself behind what I would call, quote unquote, the enemy lines of the government of Uganda?
Okay, I want to start by the positive part. I have to tell you that CSO is not doing anything wrong. What CSO is doing is like what Benson said, observing an election. It's only to ensure that the guidelines that were really brought out by the Electoral Commission itself is being observed, it's being respected, and it's followed. That is what the civil society organization is doing in this observation. From 2016 election that I observed, I don't see anything that civil society organization has done but from the side of government, they looked at them prompting and coming out with some of the gaps that were found in their reports, exposing some of the evidence of malpractices that happened during the electoral processes. So I feel it looked like it is going to expose some few individuals who were really interested and planned for election malpractices already. So for civil society organization, we only see a way. We want to say that whatever had been planned, and we don't go against what Electoral Commission has brought on board, but we want to say that whatever guidelines that they have come out with, it is being followed properly, and the election is just, it is fair, and it is free for everyone. I want to bring an example on when the Electoral Commission chairperson brought this out about once voters have cast their vote, they have to leave the polling station. But we looked at this as being something that is being done outside the law, because the law states it clearly that people, the voters, they can stand, they can be around 20 meters away from the polling station so that they can see and protect their votes. Another thing that I see it's coming out, that as civil society organization, we are working so hard. We want this thing to be done correctly. It's about the issue of a camera. Cameras are not allowed at the polling station. It brings that question, why? Does it mean that few individuals are already ready and they have planned to really carry out some malpractices already, and they don't want these cameras at the polling station so that the evidence are not there? So we looked at all these loopholes, all these gaps, and we bring them on board. That's why we look, the government look at civil society organization as being maybe a check or something that is pressing them. But I feel as civil society organization, there's nothing we have done bad. We are all doing this well, because whatever we do, it's in line with the law in the country.
Fair enough. Yes, it depends on which side of the prism you are at and you're viewing these things. Indeed, civil society is acting within the confines of the law, but
Felix, can you
probably
hear me?
it's yes, I can hear you very well. I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear
Felix,
me,
can you hear
Brenda?
me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. I hope you can hear me so that you can continue with this conversation. Yes. Okay. But that said, so now in view of what's happening, so
Yes, I can hear you.
yeah. My other question, as I wait for Benson to come in and wrap it up, in view of what's happening, so um, how is this going to affect electoral outcomes if this current status quo remains? Let's assume government is not going to give the non-domestic observers cards or tags for election day activities. How will this significantly affect electoral outcomes, if it will in any way? Did you get my question, Brenda? I think I'm having a. Did you get my question, Brenda? Brenda, can you hear me?
Okay.
Brenda, are you there?
I picked a few. I think I understood something. You're talking about if these observers are not given the cards. Yes. You are talking about if these observers are not given the cards. Yes, I am there. I'm getting you. Hello, Felix.
Proceed.
I'm getting. Are you getting me?
Yes, proceed with your point. Please proceed, Brenda.
Okay, thank you. I looked at this as the outcome of not granting the domestic observers to access the polling stations. It's going to be so much negatively on the integrity of these polling officials. Secondly, it will also minimize and degrade the quality of the election that we are going to have this year. Because if they are not given cards to access the polling station, that means that no one will be there to see all the maybe the malpractices that are going to take place, and no one will be in position to report such malpractices. And I love to tell you that this also shows that the laws that we have, it's really not so much strong, meaning the laws are only what? On paper. So I feel that if these observers are not granted to observe, even the media are not granted to observe, we are going to see a lot happening. We are going to see riots because people will feel that their rights are not being protected, they are being cheated. We shall also see that there are going to be malpractices from most of the polling stations that will be here in Uganda. So the quality of the election will be really very, very low. So I feel these people really needs to be given the card so that they can access the polling station and they observe this election.
Okay, fair enough. That's Brenda for you. Trying to make her take on what could probably be the outlook, the implications in case the current status quo remains as is now. Civil society organizations that have been known predominantly to be engaging in the electoral process as election observers. Until now, they have not yet been given um, the, the the cards, the observation cards or tags that allows them to do STO, the short-term observation of elections. Without the card, you cannot access the polling center. You cannot be able to report on what's happening. And I think government at this point needs to appreciate the complementary roles society is playing. That in this space and in this process, we are not in any way working against government, but working to improve the process, to ensure that the process has ticks the boxes of integrity, credibility. When you have the fourth arm, the fourth official, who is able to do to point out the things that need to be improved moving forward, because the election observation is supposed to inform and improve the electoral process. And in most cases, when they come up with a report, they point out what has went well and what needs to be done to improve moving forward. And I can tell you for sure that ever since citizens, by organizing in this process, started engaging in this process of election observation, they have continuously come up with the report, with the observation report, highlighting gaps with recommendations in good faith for government to consider as a means or mechanisms of ensuring that moving forward our elections improve the process, and the way we manage them improves every other day. And this is an opportunity that might be lost if the current status quo remains, because when government closes out this space in such a manner, it will then lose the voice of reason that can help to improve this process, that can help to point out the gaps in this process, that can help to offer support in where electoral commission feels feels stretched, or feels, for example, we know for a fact that for a long time, election actors in the electoral process have been at the forefront of doing civic engagement, of conducting civic education, because this is a role that has been that has come with a lot of gaps, partly due to the financial implications it requires. The actors involved, the actors required to be taking on this mandate. So it is in the interest of government in any way to ensure that this space is protected, this space is supported, and election observation it takes place in a manner that allows and gives room for the actors to engage constructively and influence in this process constructively. Yeah, Benson, I was waiting for you because there was one question I want you to answer, and we close it up because our time is fast spent. And this question is in terms of, if the current status quo remains, and you know the current status quo I'm talking about here, what is the future of civil society, especially after 2021 elections? Because in this status quo, there are many factors that have played against CSOs to engage meaningfully and influence the process as domestic election observers. And COVID has been partly one of the avenues. I think COVID was a blessing in a way to others to use it to really further limit the space. But if the current status quo remains, what is the future of civil society, especially after 2021 elections?
I think, to me, like I was trying to bring out earlier, with a distressed system, both politically and financially, don't have the money, the key partners are pulling out, the debt burden is beginning to bite. If you can collect 18 trillion and then you pay back 16 trillion to service a debt, then you can guess where you are going. So I think the current context, we need to look at it from that angle, the stress. Because even the arrest of Opio was interesting. The same ambassador recommended the organization to get funding from that Jewish funding agency. And then locally here, the security says it is wrong, and such an international embarrassment of the highest magnitude. This shows you the system is distressed. We are dealing with a distressed system. I think the future of civil society here must focus on how to deal with the systems that are distressed, with the government systems that have been captured by the ruling elite. Probably it will need us to change the way we work. It will need us to run away from the usual logo framing, to probably design a new ways. And I think this is giving us opportunity now. So I think it's going to be a future of struggle we are doing now. When Opio was arrested, we brought out the facts to show the hypocrisy of the state. That look here, your own ambassador recommended. Look here, as a clearance that is same. I mean, that is where we are going. Because governments all over the civic voice to flourish, or they will continue contending with the militant voices that are causing the world over $600 billion annually to fight. Which one is cheap? Do you suppress things? Then lastly, I think time is going to come when we are going to throw away things like non-partisanship, non-what. I think we now need to start challenging every aspect of governance, including legal, must be promoting political integrity. Now, the government recommended us to sit in the World Bank CSO platform. The same government recommended us to sit in an ECOSOC, African Society Parliament, and NGO forum. Whenever the heads of state of African Union sits on behalf of citizens, the same government fronts us. One local leader here was saying, NGOs servicing first. By the time European Union is helping you to put a Great North Road and to revitalize railways, don't they have interest? And then second, when you go to borrow, you front us as guarantors, as citizens. You say this money is to benefit them. They have the power to monitor. Article 38 clause 2 allows citizens to monitor the way government does things. We are giving them 2% to facilitate citizens to monitor the way you utilize our resources. They turn around. I told them that is political hypocrisy. You should stop this. So I think we are going to be more aggressive in the way we reach out, bringing out facts, bringing out evidence, challenging everything. Shying away and trying to play games won't help us in the near future.
All right, fair enough. Thank you so much.
I'm not the type who say I don't lose. I see a silver light in this round to push back, to build strength. To me, that is an opportunity to push back the shrinking as a citizen's voice.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those. Yeah, that's been a very interesting discussion. We are 2 minutes past the mark of the hour. I'm giving Brenda 30 seconds, your parting shots, and also Benson 30 seconds, your parting shots. Brenda, what are your parting shots as we head into, I think next week around this time, people would have voted. What are your parting shots?
To me, I think I want to say government, two things. One, government, you have no choice. You must style up. Our democratic credentials are worsening by the day.
Let Benson finish. Yes, Benson, proceed. Let's Benson finish, then you come in, Brenda. Benson, proceed.
Yeah. So I was saying government has no choice but to style up, improve its democratic credentials. The gains this government has tried to make in the last 34 years can easily be wiped out the drain. You're already beginning to see our generals are getting interdicted. We are already beginning to have challenges globally. I think this is the for government to style up. On the side of civil society, let's turn this into an opportunity We are a question that enhance us as citizens, as civic associations of citizens. I think let's turn this challenge into opportunity. Crying and lamenting won't help us. To citizens, come out to vote. You cannot refuse to buy assets because they're thieves. No, you buy, there will be with those who mess up with our rights. And I think,
Thank
and
you so
to
much.
Akim, thank you for this great opportunity. The struggle continues.
Thank you. Thank you too. Thank you too. It's always good to have you. Brenda, in 30 seconds.
Thank you.
I want to close these 30 seconds. Your parting shots. Brenda?
Thank you.
Okay.
What I can say is the government of Uganda should know that citizens has the right to participate in all the electoral processes. So observers also needs to be given time to observe the election, so that it also give that peace of mind to the citizens of Uganda that their votes also matters. Back to the citizens of Uganda, come that day, go and vote. Go and cast your vote, protect your vote, make sure that your vote counts. Do not sell your vote, because the vote is not worth the money that you're getting. It is not worth the salt that you're getting. So stand firm, protect your vote, make sure you vote, because Uganda is your country. To the civil society organizations, let's not give up. We have already started the journey. Let's make sure the journey ends well. Let's continue working so hard so that we see this election coming out as a fruitful election where everyone's right is respected. So let's work so hard. Thank you so much, Felix.
Thank you so much. There's Brenda for you. And Benson, it's been good to have you on the site. We're discussing the extent of civic space for domestic election observation, looking into the context of what's happening at the moment. Once again, join us next time, Friday, same time, discussing these issues. And in this case, it will be in the aftermath of the parliamentary and presidential elections. Till then, stay safe. COVID is real. Observe the SOPs. God bless. Bye-bye for now.
The monster of money politics is eating up Uganda's democracy. When you take money from a candidate, it means you are feeding the monster. Then you become a part of the problem. When a candidate who overspends on campaigns is elected, he or she will not represent voters but himself. He or she will engage in corruption to recover campaign money. Social services will not be delivered and the voter will suffer more. Voter, let's be wise. Give democracy a chance. Do not sell your vote. Focus on the issue.